Welcome to Unfiltered and Unashamed. We are happy to have you here. I'm Rebecca and this is Jess. Today it's Fun Friday, so we are going to keep it lighthearted, ask some fun questions. As always, if you have any questions that you would like us to answer about ourselves, each other, anything, drop us a DM on Instagram at unfiltered.unashamed.
Or email us.
Yes, at unfilteredunashamed@gmail. So it is Friday.
Yay,
myself,
finally.
Well, and you too. We both work Fridays. Or we both work Saturdays, excuse me. So
that's true.
So we were at a store the other day checking out last week, and it was on Sunday, and my youngest was with me, and he said something to the gal who was checking us out about, because she said, oh, it's the weekend. And he's like, yeah, but you're working. So it's not really the weekend for you. And I was like,
oh, that's so cute.
I know. And I was like, oh, that's really sweet of you. And I suppose it's just, maybe it's because I say that. Like, I'm happy that it's Friday because in my brain that means something. But in all reality, we both get up and go to work tomorrow. So
true.
And it's always been that way. I've always worked Saturdays.
Worked Saturdays for a long time now.
And I can't imagine not. I always say that if I didn't, I end up spending more money.
True.
Because I think a lot of people fill their day with errands and just different activities,
window shopping,
online shopping. But yeah, so it's Fun Friday. So we just kind of want to stay lighthearted and kind of roll into the weekend. And this is what we're going to kind of do every Friday. So if you just want something to just kind of get maybe a good laugh or get you thinking about something, this will be the time to do that. So hit us with the first question that we're going to answer for each other.
So first question, I'm asking you if you had any irrational fears during childhood, and if so, what the fears were.
Well, I tend to be a very fearful person about irrational things.
Okay.
So one for sure memory that sticks out is has to do with like the layout of my childhood home, and it was a split entry home, and we had the front door package had a full length window alongside of it, and we didn't have a curtain or anything there. My dad would lay on the floor and watch TV instead of on the couch. I don't know why, but I would a lot of the time lay next to him, and I remember laying next to him and looking over and in this window seeing, I swore on my life, the Jolly Green Giant from like the corn and like the canned food. How I described him was I saw the Green Man.
How old do you think you were?
I would say pre-kindergarten.
Okay.
Like 5, maybe. Because I went to kindergarten at 6.
School.
Yeah, I was 6-year-old for kindergartner. I remember the next day or a soon day after where I went for to be babysat was down the street. And I remember my babysitter coming to me and asking me about it, like very seriously, because I must have been talking about the Green Man. And what I guess got them a little concerned was that next morning, I'm assuming, my mom told me that she found me sleeping underneath my bed. So I think they were like panicked. So from that point on, Jolly Green Giant, Green Man, not my jam. I had irrational fears about like ghosts.
Yes.
And haunted, everything haunted, everything. There was a ghost. And, again, you hear stories as a kid that don't help that. They fuel it. But that definitely would be an irrational fear of mine. I don't think I had anxiety yet, so I didn't have any fears I have now. But what about you? What would you say would be an irrational?
Jumping off from what you said about like things that you see as a kid, right? So as I'm thinking about how to answer this question, it's dawning on me that a lot of my irrational fears were probably related to things that I saw on TV or movies.
There were way less filters when we were kids. And we watched things that I would never let my kids watch now.
I could not name the movie at this point. I think maybe it was a Stephen King movie. Oh, maybe Arachnophobia.
Oh my gosh, when they come out of the shower.
To this day, if I haven't worn a pair of shoes for a while, I have to check it for a spider.
I shake my shoes out.
I don't know that that's an entirely irrational fear, depending on where you live.
Yeah. Yes.
But we don't really have poisonous spiders in our area.
I don't think it matters if there's poisonous.
In my younger brain, spider in the shoe equaled death.
What?
So that was one of them. Another one, of course, scared to go down by yourself in an unfinished basement, a la Kevin McAllister.
How was your house laid out? Did the house that I met you in, is that where you would consider your young childhood home? It's like where that fear kind of set
we
in.
moved into that house when I was about 8. So yeah, I think both of those fears would have been after that third grade point. Prior to that,
and there was a door at the bottom of your stairs too, right, to go into your basement. Was there a door, or was it just
there
open?
was a door? Yeah, there was. Yeah, because it was a split level. So you walked in and you went up, or you went down to the basement, which was unfinished at the time. So yeah.
My dad, he scared me with the boogeyman in the basement. So I would be told to like to go down and we always had a refrigerator downstairs.
Right. Our laundry was downstairs.
And our laundry room was downstairs.
And the deep freeze,
Yes. And so if I had to go down there, like I can still hear, don't let the boogeyman get you. My uncle, I believe, did the same thing. So I have cousins that when we get together now, like just the feelings around the boogeyman.
Yeah.
Terrifying. Like I didn't need that. Thanks, Dad. Yeah. I was already scared to go down there.
That's such a dad thing.
It is. And my basement was finished. I mean, there was, it was, the main part was finished. You could go back and there was other parts that weren't, but it was terrifying. Oh my gosh. I feel like they fueled it. I feel like there was a time that I'm sure my sister ran down and shut the door behind me, just to be a brat, like having an older sister or whatever. So, I mean, again, I also still don't feel like that's an irrational fear. And there are some basements that I've been in that I'm like, I don't want to be down here.
That's fair. Yeah. I remember being asked to go get
a pound of hamburger or a frozen pizza or whatever
out of the deep freeze.
Yeah.
And it was like a sprint, and then you would grab what you needed,
and the second you turned around
as fast as you could.
Yeah, because the second you turned around, it was after you.
For sure.
Sure. The feeling is still there.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I like that feeling. Like, I mean, and again, are they entirely irrational? Well, the Jolly Green Giant's not going to be at your door.
Sure.
But I mean, we've all been startled to see someone at the door that we weren't expecting, or a reflection of something,
But I think sometimes it's the phantom images as well.
Sure.
I talk about my phantom phone. You'll hear your phone ding, but it didn't. And I've talked to, being in the spa industry, I have another professional that I work with. We were talking the other day about how if I'm doing something, I still hear the spa music in the background, and I have to go, is that in my head or is it actually happening? So yes, I mean, I think our brain does that sort of stuff too. So yeah. Okay, I've got a question for you. If I were to be arrested, I don't know, booked and charged maybe, or just, hey girl, I got arrested. I need you to come get me. What do you think? What would be your first initial thought of what I had done to find myself arrested?
I'm going to go with road rage, actually.
You've seen me drive.
I definitely know that one of your pet peeves is if someone is driving below the speed limit.
I just don't know
particularly because you and I both generally go over the speed limit.
Yes.
On a regular basis.
Yes.
And so if there's a car that's going below the speed limit, I know that really just
it will ruin my,
it gets under your skin.
I need to get better about
so
that,
my first thought would be, somebody was going 25 and a 50
and she rammed them,
and he rammed them.
Yeah, I could. Okay,
fair. That would be my first thought. Also, I would come get you.
Well, of course, sure. Well, that's why I call you.
I'm just reaffirming that if that's the case, I'll come.
I need to start memorizing more. I don't know your number. I could tell you your childhood home number, but I don't know your cell phone number.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, so interesting. Yeah, I think if you gave me that phone call,
what do you think I did?
I see like a throwdown, like in a business, not like a customer service, but basically someone's in the wrong, and you're not willing to stand by and watch it happen, and so you are intervening. And then it escalates.
Okay.
That would be my first thought. My second thought.
So maybe some disorderly conduct.
Yeah. Something along those lines. Like, kind of one of those things that's because.
I can see that.
You have a tone.
I can.
And when you use the tone, immediately, oh my gosh, like the other night we were setting up for our workshop, just the way you say, hi. The way you say it, like when you're like looking at them like, why are you here? And so I feel like that would be how it would start, with that tone. The other thing, I mean, would just be, I feel like, I don't know if I can say this, like elimination?
Like, well, I would hope with good reason.
Yeah, I mean, but it would be out of passion of like a protective space.
Like a mama bear type.
Yeah. That's what I would say. I think all of us kind of have that in us, right? I mean,
sure.
I don't know if I Well, you know, like in my brain right now, I'm like, you know, you come at my kids, you come at, or you come at someone I deeply love, or or whatever. Right. Yeah, that would be
like you're gonna defend.
Yeah.
Well, let's just hope it never happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're pretty boring, so I don't know if it really will.
I know,
which is okay. I don't mind being a little boring.
Well, to be fair, neither of us have ever even come close to being arrested.
No.
These are really long shot ideas.
The one time, were you in the car when I got pulled over and I pulled into the quick shop?
Yes.
I had to do a field sobriety test.
He made all of us get out of the car.
Yes.
And do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, but we were minors.
And we were not drinking.
We were not drinking.
No.
We had another person in the car.
She wasn't drinking that. She got car sick. I'm sure I was driving like a total ding-a-ling through the neighborhood, right? And I mean, for somebody who just maybe is more sensitive, so she got car sick and she threw up in her hands in the back seat.
We pulled over into the quick.
Yes, we did. I mean, but they pulled up behind us because she was then puking out the car.
Right.
And then here comes this car that literally parks and blocks behind us.
Right.
And we're all a whole group of teenage girls. Right. And they're, have you been drinking? And we're like, because I think it was like homecoming time or prom time, close to that. And we were like, no. I remember laughing, like, really. So yeah, that's probably the closest I would have gotten to it, which I'm okay with. I don't have to experience that.
That's not something I would want to.
I don't know. I don't know anyone who's been arrested and like actually like close to me and charged, I guess, friends wise. I would think that some more of our friends would have. Maybe they have, and I just don't know. I guess now that I think about that, that's a lie. That's a lie. But that's okay.
Yeah. I was like, should I start listing the names?
No. Now
do you want me to put them in alphabetical order?
Right.
Or how would you like me to do that?
We were the good girls.
We ran with the rough crowd.
And what is our last little fun question? I don't recall.
Last little fun question I have to look up. This sounds fun. Let's assume that there's a time machine and you can travel. Mm-hmm. And for the sake of creating some boundaries around this conversation, you can only travel back in time. So there's no future travel. What era would you choose to travel to and why?
Well, I'm not a fashion forward person, but for some reason, when I think about that, I think about the fashions and the fashion trends. And that's what leads me. Like, there's the realistic part where it's like, firstly, I would like Gone with the Wind era, right? But I'm like, I don't want to live during the Civil War. That doesn't sound enjoyable. And I like air conditioning. So I'm like, okay, then move forward a little bit. And I think about like the 20s, just how wild it really could have been and how fun and invigorating as a woman, I think, during that time. Mm-hmm. But then I think about, again, the negatives, like air conditioning, refrigerators. Like, I don't want to live like that. So I kind of find myself more in that like 50s, 60s.
Mm-hmm. The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Yeah, it's like mini skirts, tweed coats, Jackie Kennedy. Maybe that'd be like the 60s. Before hippies, but Marilyn Monroe era, sort of. Oh my gosh, the hats and the gloves and the purses. I mean, like some of those, like the cars. And I just, in my head, I envision that as being cleaner. Everywhere was cleaner. I feel like there was a lot less. I mean, obviously, stay out of the political sides of it. There are always negatives to every part of life or time, but yeah, that's probably where I would go. I think about Mad Men.
Right.
Was it the best time for women in like business or, you know, maybe not, but I also feel like there were a lot of, I don't know what the term would be. I find that era, like I would.
Like there was more social structure.
Yes, right? Yes. Yeah.
And not all of it was necessarily positive.
Right.
But women's fashion was.
I've never even tried to dress like that though. You realize that's never come back in our lifetime? The 70s has come back.
Sure.
Right now we're back to the 90s came back. Like it never carried over. That 60s style never really came back.
That's true.
I don't know. And I'm not sure as to why, but that was back when people dressed up to go on airplanes and stuff like that.
So I think we're probably more relaxed with our
100%
clothing choices now more than ever.
Which I'm also okay with. Like, hello.
So it's hard to imagine.
Yeah. Okay. What about you? Where would you go? When?
Yeah. Without a doubt, 1920s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like now, would you have
flapper era?
Would you have the short? Because you've done short and long. You would do short.
Okay. Yeah, you kind of have to, right? That was.
I suppose
one of the first steps of like women kind of trying to take control over their lives and their bodies, and one of the symbols of that was the shorter hair.
Yeah.
So I think you would have to.
I was just listening to Chicago the other day in the car.
Fun.
Yeah, I mean, so it's like that's fun. I was like, oh, that would be fun. I could see that. That would be a fun.
Somewhere on the East Coast.
I think something about that era also makes me think of I don't know why, but like dirt and like dirty. Maybe it's like with like that the Great Depression era, that sort of thing. But I mean, I think when it comes to the dancing and like music and the social fun, yeah, that's where I would go for sure.
My favorite writers are from that era.
Oh yeah,
too. Like the whole Gatsby vibe met in with that era.
I love that. If you have an era and that we didn't really touch on,
or an irrational childhood belief
or fear, or these sorts of traumatic stories, and then I think
or pranks that have stayed with you.
So
maybe siblings.
I will never. I'm going to tell this story like super quick. So speaking of pranks, like there was a time where my dad lived in a different state because we were in the middle of moving. Mm-hmm. And so he would travel back and forth. When he lived in this other state that we hadn't moved to yet, he had a roommate, obviously to save money because whatever. And so this roommate of him had obviously come up with this, I don't even know if you call it a plan, a prank, or whatever. So we're at my house. My dad's back in town. I have my very best friend staying the night. Very common. We had sleepovers all the time. And my dad had us playing a card game. And I don't remember what, he probably had us playing 1-1 or something. I don't know. We were playing a card game. Now, this friend of mine had a very strong Christian foundation. And so my dad, he was like, oh, I know a wizard. And we were like, huh? I mean, we had to be like 4th grade. No, 5th grade. Basically, he made a long distance phone call. So he was willing to pay for this.
I can see where this is going. He made a long distance
phone call to his friend, the wizard.
Right.
And he said, oh, basically it was this whole thing.
The roommate in the other state.
Right. Yeah. And basically the wizard could tell us what card hand we had. Of course, my dad had the conversation going and he said, oh, hello, the wizard. This is da-da-da. Yeah. And so then he knew to play into it. And so obviously, gave him all the information that he needed. So then he's talking to us and telling us and we were just like mind blown. Like, what? How? And, okay, so all's fine, whatever. That night is the first time this ever happened on my side. She woke me up in the middle of the night. She wanted to go home. Her mom had to go get her. She was so terrified.
The devil.
And she actually said that. She was like, she was afraid that the devil was there.
Possessing the house.
Yes. And so it was so sad. But what a terrible prank. I mean, I'm sure my dad felt bad, but he probably thought it was pretty funny too. So that's what you do. But anyways, yeah. So pranks, like fun little things. Okay. And I think it's interesting. I don't really do that stuff with my kids. They'll be traumatized in other ways, but
absolutely, because there's no way around it.
There's no way around it.
But while we're on pranks, I have one to throw out at you that was not quite as innocent as the one that your dad did. When the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie came out, what was that in the early aughts, whatever remake?
Yeah, it was the remake, and I think I was living in my apartment at that time, so it had to be like 2002. 2000
somewhere around there. Yeah. And I, for whatever reason, was staying with my parents that weekend. And so I had gone to see the movie, terrified on the way home. Right? I'm just imagining someone on top of my car with a chainsaw. So I get home and I'm going to go sleep in my old room. And my youngest brother kindly said, how was the movie? Oh, do you want me to sleep on the floor in your room? And I was like, oh, yeah, that's really sweet. Sure. So he makes up a little bed on the floor and I'm just about to fall asleep. And our middle brother pops out of my closet with a fucking chainsaw.
Like a real chainsaw?
The real chainsaw just fired that bitch up.
Was your little brother in on it?
So not only was my youngest brother in on it,
shut up.
My parents.
No.
Were in on it.
Well, I suppose because he probably would have gotten into big trouble had he pulled the chainsaw out and they not known.
Right. So I'm like, what, 21, 22?
Not even.
Yeah. Which makes, the rest of my family pretty much adults. And that was the prank that we got.
Man.
So I'll take the wizard phone call.
Oh, that's terrifying. Oh my gosh, I'd be so mad.
Oh, I was furious. I think I was even more angry at my parents because they thought it was the fun.
Oh, I'm sure they were dying.
I mean, so
it'll be a story you get to tell forever.
It's true.
I love that it included all of them.
It did.
you know, especially with
I mean,
both the brothers.
I was sort of the victim of the prank,
Sure.
you know, but it is a fun family
You
story.
were the only girl.
Right.
So I think that's kind of part of that too.
Yeah, it wouldn't have worked if we tried to set it up. If they
No. Like, I mean, no one would have done it to your littlest brother, period.
Right.
That wouldn't have happened. And the middle, like, I think he probably would have gotten angry.
I don't think he would have fallen for it. That's the thing. I don't think that my youngest brother and I could have even set it up, because
probably not.
Neither one of us would have been like.
Yeah, he's definitely the clever one.
He was so good at that stuff.
Yeah, that's funny. That's crazy. Yeah, no chainsaws.
No chainsaws.
My husband's actually working on his chainsaw currently. Like, I was told, I found the problem finally. So I might hear a chainsaw this weekend, and I will think of you endearingly and your brothers and have a little chuckle.
You know, if you want to chuckle at my expense, that's fine.
I mean, that's life, right?
We've been doing that to each other for a while. Yeah. All right. Well, have a great weekend.
Yes, thank you. You too. And thank you, everybody, for joining us and walking this journey of the shit show that we call life together. Bye, guys.